This is my brand new Prusa Mark IV 3D printer, and unfortunately, I have to box this thing back up and send it back to Prusa. This is actually my very first Prusa MK series 3D printer. Again, this is the Mark IV that was just recently announced. This is the fully assembled version of the 3D printer. I pre-ordered this, bought this within the first, I think, 10 minutes or so of the announcement of it after watching that amazing trailer for the printer, which Prusa always does like a fantastic job of putting out trailers for their products there. But regardless, so I put this in, just got this last week. Did a live stream unboxing and first print of this with folks on the stream and had a great time, absolutely great time. Went off and 3D printed initially here one of the test files. This is the little keychain file on the printer, just using the Galaxy PLA. Everything went perfectly here. Then in the chat, the crazy folks in the chat were saying, hey, why don't you try printing on wood? Because we were talking about how there are people with the new auto leveling, that's like magic on this thing, was able to print directly on cardboard. And since I had some balsa wood sitting around from a laser engraving live stream that I was doing previously, they suggested that I try and print directly on that. And it worked, and I was amazed, absolutely amazed. And everything was great up until that point, until basically I tried to print anything after that. Yeah, just did not go very well. Before I get into the full detailed stories of this, one, and all the issues that I was running into, one sort of standalone thing that I've called out already to the Prusa support team and a few other members over at Prusa is on the bottom of the front control unit, there is a metal connection point that on my machine was angled downward. Maybe that was due to shipping, like carved into my tabletop here. So if you order one of these MK printers and it's fully assembled, just make sure that that's tucked up in there. You don't, like, I like to put my printers on my kitchen counters. If that would have scratched up my kitchen counter, I would have been so mad. And again, being amazed that I was able to print so cleanly and easily on a piece of wood, I figured, you know, I probably should try and actually slice something myself just using the standard printer. So I went into Prusa Slicer using the MK4 profile and found a file from Hollow Props that is a controller stand. And after a few hours of printing, I started to notice some banding in the prints or some wobbling as well as layer shifting. So I reached directly out to Prusa Support online, and after about 15 or 20 minutes of waiting, I was able to connect to someone, and they started to walk me through the process of troubleshooting this I was sharing photos and videos with them, and we believed it was due to the belts, so either being loose or too tight, or potentially even the grub screws. So I was checking into those things. They also advised that I use the Prusa MK3, I think the 3S, the belt tightening guide, because there isn't an MK4 guide just yet for the belt tightening process. So went along with that and started to adjust those. By the way, the grub screws were perfect, but again, the Y was super tight and then the X was really loose. So went through the process of adjusting those, and it seems like it's a little bit better, or it did at the time. But I also, at the same time that I was doing all of that, was taking some photos and saying, hey, I ran into this issue, but at least the bottom first layer is looking fantastic with this new auto leveling system that the MK4 has. And over on the Prusa Facebook group, some of the users were calling out that the first layer just didn't look consistent across it. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. This is one of the best first layers that I think I've ever seen on one of my prints. So I'm pretty happy with it, but they were calling out that it looked like it could have been a little bit better. I'm not quite sure how that would improve, but just mentioning that here. And after adjusting the belts, I decided I'd run a wobble tower test that I saw from Teaching Tech that's available over on Printables, and it was immediately starting to look better, not great, but definitely better. And then in my infinite wisdom, I figured I'd also try and download and print the belt tension meter so that I could print that off and really precisely tune the belts. But unfortunately, I ended up using the Prusa MK3 Plus G-code file that's available over on Printables. There's no MK4 file, and I tried printing that, and yeah, I ruined one side of the provided build plate here. The nozzle just dug right into the build plate here. So this is totally user error on my part. I shouldn't have been printing with that. And in fact, I think there was a warning on the screen there warning me that this wasn't a file that was sliced for this particular printer. Did I want to proceed, yes or no? And I said, yeah, sure, why not? And that's when I ended up with this. So just a warning out there to anybody that has an MK4, don't print with other G-code files, even if they're provided by Prusa. It's not going to work. So after ruining one side of the build plate, I flipped it over to the other side like any logical person would do, and then decided to run off and try and print a Benchy and see what the results were looking like here with something that I could more reliably take a look at with the adjusted belts. And I ended up using the Prusa MK4 0.2 quality profile, and I think this was about a 1 hour and 10 minute print. Sorry, one quick note as well. On the screen there, I don't know why, but after the print finishes, there's no time listed there. So I have no idea how long this actually took. If it was an hour and 10 minutes or an hour and 20 minutes, I'm not entirely sure. Also, one little ranty bit that I have about this machine in the Benchy is when I went to unbox this machine, I was hoping to show off printing that 20-minute Benchy here, but it's not provided on the SD card. People in the live stream are commenting that, oh, input shaping's not actually available, so I can't print that Benchy. And even when I go to try and slice this Benchy using the MK4 profile in draft mode, it comes out to like 40 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if in that video they had little asterisks that said input shaping not available yet or coming soon, that sort of thing, versus me diving into a blog post somewhere to try and find that information. It's sort of like me saying, I have 500,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which I don't, but I'm working on it and will hopefully happen later this year. After seeing the results of that Benchy, it was clear I need to adjust the tension of those belts ever so slightly again, so I went ahead and did that, then took out the USB drive to slice some more files on it, and that's when this thing died. So yeah, the USB drive died that was provided. Can't read it on my Mac or any of my PCs. Also can't be read on the Mark IV printer as well, so no idea what other files were on there. Thankfully, was able to replace that with one of my Resin 3D printer USB drives, so got another wobble test printed, and this one thankfully looks a whole lot better than what I was seeing previously. It's still not what I was hoping for. Like, I think it could still be improved, but this is drastically better. And after the results of that wobble test, it was clear I could go back and reslice and try and print the controller stand. Unfortunately, the nozzle started clogging at that point. I was also noticing there were some weird sounds coming from the printer as it was printing, which I'll try and capture and let you guys hear here. So I cleared the clog, tried it again with Prusa Mint, and it yet again clogged. So that was great. Then cleared that clog and then decided, all right, let's not try and print the controller stand again. Let's try and print another set of files. So I found these tiny dragons from Zao 3D, and surprise, surprise, the files actually printed. And I was so happy to see that something actually printed and the results are looking pretty good on the outside. However, on the underside, it's not looking very good. There was definitely some first layer inconsistencies with this file that printed, so that wasn't great to see. Also, a quick note again for any Prusa Mark IV owners, the auto leveling starts by auto leveling in the front left corner, and I'm seeing it digging into my build plate, and there are other users, I posted about this over on the Prusa Facebook group, there are other MK4 users reporting the exact same issue. So it's not like, it's something that you can feel. It's indenting into the build plate of the surface with the nozzle as it's initially starting the leveling process. And at this point, I figured, hey, I was able to get these little tiny dragons to properly print. Let's use the Prusa Mint and try and print that controller holder again. Yeah, no dice. It completely clogged up again, and that's when I sort of threw in the towel, reached back out to support. They've agreed that they want the machine back so they can try and figure out what the heck's going on with my unit. Why there's so many issues with it, and in the meantime, they're going to send me a new one to replace this one, which is fantastic. If anything, you know, Prusa is known for like their amazing support, and it was great being able to get a hold of someone in a timely manner, not waiting 24 hours or 48 hours to hear a reply back from someone. I was able to pretty much instantly get on there in a few minutes and get a hold of a support representative to walk through some of the trouble that I was having with this machine. I do have high hopes for this. I know that there's going to be lots of future updates for this. This isn't meant to be a dig or a rip on Prusa or anything like that. It's, again, just sharing my initial experience with this machine that I paid $1,300 for. That's the price of the printer, plus shipping, plus the taxes to import it in here. So yeah, it's overall not the best experience that I've had so far with a machine. Yeah, definitely not the best, but I have high hopes that hopefully the replacement that comes with this, they'll be able to resolve that, as well as they'll be able to figure out what exactly is going on with this machine so that future machines don't go out with the same issues. But yeah, if you're interested in the Mark IV, I'll have an affiliate link down below where you can check that out for yourself. Again, I just want to say thanks so much for watching this, you guys. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters for your continued support of me making fun videos, painful videos like this one here. If you're interested in things like my resin 3D printer settings or my printer profile settings, you can find those over in my Patreon. And yeah, you'll definitely be seeing more from me on this. This is not meant to be a review. Again, it's just my initial experience that I've had so far with this machine that hasn't been initially that great, unfortunately. But really looking forward to getting my replacement in and getting some really cool prints up and running, because I have seen some people printing some really cool looking things on their Mark IVs. Hey, thanks so much for watching all. I'll see you next time.